thank you too for the introduction. And I should put a plug in. If you're ever going through Asbury Park, go to the Asbury Park Hotel. I'm actually going to come down there soon to check out your installation. I'm actually looking forward to seeing that. It's
Transparent gallery.
Transparent gallery. It looks like a wonderful place to visit. If you didn't need another reason to visit Asbury Park, there's the gallery to see.
It's incredible. Yeah.
So
thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too. And thanks for being here. Ellie, I'm going to move the microphone over back to Jerusalem to a friend of mine who grew up in a rock and roll home. My friend Eli Goldsmith's uncle, I believe, is one of the largest rock promoters in Europe. He still is today. He created something called Live Aid. They've heard of Live Aid and Live Earth, and a lot of the large galactic events in the world were done by his uncle and his dad. His dad is a merchandiser of rock and roll. Most recently, well, not that recently, they merchandised the 2012 Olympics, I believe. But while they were doing all that in England, Eli went to Israel, and I met him as the Midnight Rabbi, and he's someone who spends part of his nights, at least back when I met him, basically finding kids on the streets and really rehabilitating them through music. And I was at a time in my life where I was able to support his efforts, and I helped create a music studio, which Eli used to do his magic. And it was a beautiful time. Eli, welcome. Welcome to the show. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting me, Jeff. And it brings back great memories. I mean, following on from such great, speakers just before and people who've been in the music business in all different ways, it's very humbling. But being in your presence is also humbling because you're one of the, kind people that I've always had in my, presence, and being able to know that I have your backing, like with the love and the support that you bring online and also in person when you were in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv and all those great times we had.
Well, I'm grateful to know you truly, and I'll never forget. It's thanks to you that I got to be at the O2 on December 7th, 2010. I think it was when the last time Led Zeppelin played.
Yeah.
And your dad never quite understood why I didn't want to have seats. I wanted to be in the crowd, and that was a surreal moment in time. But enough of that stuff. You, sir, are doing great work right now. You have this Unity project, and I know that you work with different types of musicians, not necessarily the classic rock and rollers. Your genre that I'm familiar with is the hip-hop genre, and bringing together different elements of music together. I was wondering, what inspired you to do this? What inspired you to start doing what you do?
So the music business obviously was my upbringing and my past, and I'm passionate about music. Every minute of my day is filled with music. But the artists and the musicians I work with was sort of like, as you always say, serendipity, like a flow, that the people I met were meant to be in my life. It happens to be like I've drawn generally more Afro-American musicians towards my sort of energy, and that brought along, with my upbringing with jazz and, hip hop and that kind of flow. So the first kind of acts I worked with were struggling hip hop artists in the Jewish scene, but thankfully, over the years I kept looking for someone who could really lead the way, and an artist called Nissan Black, who's definitely become a more known name, is been my main artist, I would say, over the last 4 or 5 years, managing him, booking him, and I'm still booking him to this day. I switched from management to booking just so I could focus on my everyday work in Jerusalem. I have a studio here, sort of continuation of what you kindly were involved with back in the day. Not that the actual equipment has continued, but the idea of working in a studio format and helping speakers, creatives, musicians have a platform and showcase. And the teenager at risk. Right now I would say that I have my own teenagers, so they're keeping me busy. So it's amazing, seeing how what I learned on the streets all those years ago and making events is so relevant and keeping me in touch with my own children right this moment. So it's been a cool journey.
And well, you answered a question before I asked it, so I have to switch now. On where you're at right now and living through a pandemic and missing live shows, how have you been helping your artists that you're managing, plus those that are trying to stay connected to the flow of what's happening?
So it was thankful that I have a father who's been in the business since the 60s, like you mentioned. He was there with Jimi Hendrix at Crystal Palace in London, and like those kind of festivals, the original scene. And my uncle as well, obviously, and my brothers are still in the scene. So I had their advice, and they said to me, look, you've got this list of artists, and there's a whole change. I mean, I was giving them advice about how they need to get more online, because they were doing, event merchandising, and the event world has changed. So they've switched to a more online platform. And the other way, they were saying to me, well, why don't you take your artists and do an online collaboration album? And that's what I've done. This is more the beginner artists for the first one, but I'm working on a second and a third already. And hopefully in the new year, we'll have those two out as well. The first one is out currently. I recommend everyone to listen. It's, like I said, it's still more beginner artists. They're not as well known, but they've definitely got talent and potential. We would have been booking shows. Some of the more established artists are getting online performances and speaking opportunities. And that's why the studio format using live feeds has been so fundamental, switching everything to that online experience of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff live. And that's been really amazing to see how much of an interest. And it's gone a bit viral. Some people have obviously copied clips, and it's going around, Israel, the country, the media world, and that's been cool, and it's just the beginning, in my opinion. More and more people are hearing about it, and we're slowly, artists now in Tel Aviv are interested in collaborating, so we're going to try to make it more interesting than it's already been,
And so, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, do you have a vision for where you want to take the artists, where you want to take the collaboration that you're doing, with or without any pandemics, just to collaborate? Are you looking to, do a global collaboration, or what's your vision for the near future and the not so near future?
So yeah, your question's spot on, because I really do want to talk about that. I think right now, with the whole coronavirus challenge and the change of industry and everything, we do have to have a reboot and a rethink, and being versatile and having emotional intelligence, keeping that positive mindset is a big thing I talk about. I do have classes, as you mentioned. I'm a rabbi, so I do speak to people weekly and get a lot of people reaching out for advice. So what I've decided to do is create a book, United Souls. That's the brand behind me, and that fits with the collaboration album, and it will flow together with everything we're doing. That people should be able to feel more unified in their daily life, that it shouldn't feel so disparate. There shouldn't be such a feeling of disunity in the world like we're hearing all the time from the media, that we can actually create a much more of unity flow that we see comes out in these kind of Zoom settings. But I want to write a book and a formula. It's going to be based in business and universal principles, but it will have a spiritual source in it as well, and be very real. That's my hope. And that will come together with the music projects. And my real dream was to have a Live Aid Unity event this year. So that's why my father said switch it up to a collaboration, because Live Aid was the 35-year anniversary. So I don't know when the world will be at a point where we can actually have a live venue and an event like space like Live Aid, but focus, instead of feeding the poor, focus on unity. Because I think that there is abundance of wealth in this generation physically, but we're emotionally and spiritually needing a lot more unification. And I think that the world is lacking that focus. So I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on that, on the music and the art and the creativity and the writing and the speaking, and that will be something which, in my opinion, is totally able to join up with everything like you're doing and other people here, and hopefully we'll create a platform that people will feel safe to express themselves without any politics or anything that will take away from unity.
So I'm just curious, have you run into other rabbis or clergy that are also in the music industry like you?
Yes, so there are people, a lot of musicians now who I'm working with and have friendships with, or have done some collaborations with, even if they're not my artists directly. They are very rabbinical and spiritual in their way, but there's always that balancing out with the hippie culture or the hip hop culture. There's it's an interesting generation that they call it neo-orthodox or whatever they want to call it, like a different kind of flow that's coming out of the music, world that I'm around, and it's interesting to see. I mean, there's definitely people who don't understand it, and that's why communication is really important and crucial. And I think in Israel, there's definitely a big need for more of awareness that there is much more openness and a will to unify than people realize. And definitely, I see it on the root level. Everyone on the streets wants to unify and make events and do stuff together. And it's just about getting the establishment to understand that that's the next way forward.
Well, I am grateful for the work that you do, especially grateful for the work that you will do. That you're certainly not someone I know that looks back to on the laurels of what your family has done before. If I didn't mention that you had a rock and roll roots, no one would know.
Yeah.
But I'm just in awe of how magic happens, how the serendipity, synchronicity brings together opportunity, and being open to receive, be part of that flow is part of that magic. And I've seen you in action over the years, and I greatly respect the work that you do, and I support you as best as I can, and I thank you. I thank you for everything. And by the way, look, we had an event last night that was, I think, 3 a.m. for you, and somehow you managed to pop in for it.
So I appreciate you mentioning that, because I'm feeling it now. But like I've learned from you that jet lag isn't enough to hold back what we need to do, or midnight rabbi lag, whatever you want to call it. And I was up all night editing, the last night's video, making sure, on all the different platforms that it went out in the most professional way, so that when the boss walked in and looked at the screen and saw, it's all ready and good. And so then, thank God, just as I look at the time, there your email comes in. And it was the best way to end the night, because that music from Peter, I've been listening all day on Spotify to his tracks. And this is the kind of thing, Camilla is also in our group right now. She's reached out to my Artists in Black. There's opportunities that you're creating by being here, Jeff and Lauren and everyone else. So I thank you deeply, and I believe that this is the turnaround of the Corona Challenge to a lot of unification and positivity for all of us.
Well, thank you, Rabbi. Thank you for sharing your time. I'm grateful for every time we interact, and thanks for all your support. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, and everyone should be blessed. I mean, seeing those rock and roll pictures, takes me back. Seeing Bruce Springsteen in Hyde Park, and these are the greats. And I wish.
I believe yesterday, today is the 45th anniversary of Born to Run.
Wow.
If we could actually remember that, 45 years since Born to Run.
Amazing. His Netflix program is amazing. But what I'd like to see is a revival of real authentic music as well. And I think that some of the people you brought on here are role models in that. And I think that should support artists, and that's one of the things I endeavor to do. Support artists.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. And Matt, nice photo of you and Bruce. I have to say it's a nice photo, one I do not have. Lauren, I wonder, is Buzz here? Yes, I think Buzz is here. Buzz
is here, and he's unmuted.
All right, so should be a treat.
I hope. Hold on.
Sorry? No, he's muted.
Buzz, please unmute yourself.
And turn your video on if you can. This is my friend, there's Buzz Apollo. I met him on the streets of Dublin. He's now busking somewhere in Germany. I don't know where in Germany you are, but I asked if he would come on and share a couple of tunes with us, because the life of a busker is sometimes a lonely one. And I wanted to give him some notice. So, Buzz, the stage is yours. Welcome to the soundtrack.
Awesome, cheers. I don't know if I have this background.
The background's San Francisco, but we see you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate coming on here. Yeah.
So, what you would like to do a song or two?
Yeah. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah. Well, a little background. So you're not busking on Grafton. Where are you?